So good evening, everyone. My name is Sandra Estinam and I'm anchoring from home. Welcome to Business Live. Coming up tonight, Finance Minister set to present mid-year and supplementary budget review next month. Also coming up, integrated customs management system generates 490 million cedis revenue in first 2 weeks. We'll hear from the GRA. And later in the bulletin, traders at Aflaw calls for reopening of Ghana's borders to save their businesses from collapse. We have the details plus many more coming up after this break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. My name is Sandra Estinam, and if you're just joining me, this is Business Live, and I'm anchoring from home. In our first story tonight, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta is expected to present the mid-year budget review and supplementary estimates next month. According to the Majority Leader Oseche Mensah-Bonsu, the Finance Minister will use the opportunity to explain how government intends to replenish advances it took from the contingency and stabilization funds due to the coronavirus pandemic. Addressing the press, he added that the Finance Minister will also use the opportunity to explain how government intends to pay back the 10 billion cedis borrowed from the central bank.
This meeting would also witness the Finance Minister submitting a mid-year review, and of course, given what is happening, I believe necessarily he will come with supplementary estimates. There are 2 supplementary estimates that the minister will be required to submit. One relates to the budget performance, and if he needs additional funding, he will be required to submit supplementary estimates after the mid-year review. So that's the first. But you recollect that the minister had come to Parliament and indeed requested through the Finance Committee for advances to be made to the ministry from the contingency fund. First of all, we took some amount from the stabilization fund to the contingency fund, and then the minister then made a request through the Finance Committee for advances to be made to the ministry, which was done when Parliament's meeting was suspended. Now, the Constitution provides that in Article 177(2), where an advance is made from the contingency fund, a supplementary estimate shall be presented as soon as possible to Parliament for the purpose of replacing the amount so advanced. So if you take monies from the contingency fund, you're supposed to submit a supplementary estimate to indicate how you intend to replenish that stock. The contingency fund contained nothing, and it's because Parliament was not insistent on this. The previous administration needed to take some amounts when petroleum funds, petroleum revenues dwindled. After we had approved of a budget, they needed to take some amount from the contingency fund, which was done, but it was not replenished. We need now, 2 wrongs would not make right. So we need now, going forward, to ensure that once Parliament, through the Finance Committee, allows monies or advances to be made from the contingency fund for the finance ministers to show us how they intend to replenish the stock. It may not be necessarily, the stock replenishment may not necessarily be for a year. That come and show me how you're going to replenish the stock within 1 year. It cannot be done, because if it could be done, they will not take the money from the contingency fund in the first place. What it will mean is to show an indication, maybe over a period, 5-year period, 10-year period, whatever it is, for you to, let us know how you intend to replenish the stock.
Professor Godfred Walpin is an economist, and he joins me on Zoom for more on this. Prof, thanks so much for your time this evening. You heard the majority leader. Clearly, he's given us some hints about what we should expect when the finance minister appears before Parliament. Indeed, difficult times for government. What should be the tone of the finance minister?
Very much for this opportunity, and good evening to our cherished listeners and viewers. I think that the expectations are very high, largely because this will be the first major important government statement on COVID-19 and its impact. It is common knowledge today or now that the 2020 budget, the assumptions underlying that budget, and for that matter, the budget outcomes are no longer reliable. In November last year, when the budget was presented, the assumptions have drifted largely because of COVID-19. We had a first glimpse of a government understanding of the impact of COVID-19 when the finance minister made a statement in Parliament on the 30th of March. So, but then again, others have called for actually a revised budget to be presented comprehensively. Of course, that was a bit early or premature. So the media review gives government the opportunity to actually fully recalibrate the macro numbers to reflect the reality and the impact of COVID-19 in terms of the projections that were made in the 2020 budget would have to be revised, and that is expected. And then again, the outlook for the next, maybe the medium-term outlook, maybe the next 3 years, the next 5 years, government will have to provide a roadmap, which will also guide private sector, which will guide individuals. So again, so specifically, when it comes to the GDP numbers, we are told from the statement the finance minister made in Parliament on the 30th of March that our GDP will decelerate sharply from the 6.8% projected in the 2020 budget to about 1.5% in a worst-case scenario, given the partial lockdown of Greater Accra and Greater Kumasi. So I think this is an opportunity for the minister to come clear. And then we also have a fair idea now in terms of the impact of COVID-19 on government revenue envelope in terms of the fiscal losses. But it will not be all losses, because the impact of COVID-19 is not all losses. So given the lockdown, the travel ban, and all of that, government now has an opportunity to tell us the savings that will be made from the lack of travels, lack of conferences, per diems, and all of that. So some savings would have been made, obviously. Then we also get to understand through the media review the new expenditure patterns that are emerging because of COVID-19, more health-related, and then other expenditure patterns that would have emerged because of COVID-19, the switch to online and all of that. Beyond that, we also get to know a little bit more about the financing mechanism that government has put in place, including the quantitative easing from Bank of Ghana. That would also be very important. Then government will have to be clear more inclusively in terms of the impact of COVID-19 on our deficit position, fiscal deficit position, and then our debt stock. In this case, it will not make much sense to do a dual reporting of looking at the deficit with and without. I think we have to be embracive, and we have to report an inclusive deficit that gives us overall picture of the impact of COVID-19. Then more importantly, it gives the government the opportunity to lay out its recovery plan and what the priority areas are in leading the recovery plan. And here, there's no point in hyping the expectation, because we know that we are not expecting a quick V-shaped recovery, perhaps a little bit of an extended U-shaped recovery. So we are expecting not less than 3 years if we are looking at the recovery and even getting to pre-pandemic level. So that would have to be done. Then the other issue that will have to come to mind is that it calls for re-examination of our strategy, so that we zoom more into the knowledge economy, and because COVID-19 has fast-tracked the arrival of the fourth industrial revolution predicated on network readiness. So the usage of ICT would have to be prominent, and government will have to be clear in terms of policy statement on going forward in scaling up the digital literacy of our youth and all of that. Yeah.
Well said. I think you put everything into context for us, but obviously we are not in normal times. We've heard that over and over again, and from your submission as well. We are going to obviously spend more. What will be the greater picture, the impact on our end-of-year fiscal deficits, bearing in mind that the first quarter growth now is gone by some 4.9%, and we are being told that we shouldn't expect much in your submission as well. And so what's the impact on our end-of-year fiscal deficits, bearing in mind all these issues with COVID-19?
So what is going to happen is that, and here the issue is not to blame government, because these are exogenous, beyond our control. So we expect that our fiscal deficit would increase from the projected deficit in the 2020 budget. But of course, the statement made in Parliament gives us a fair idea of the elevated fiscal deficit position, because the deficit now has increased from the 18.9 billion in the 2020 budget preliminary to 30.2 billion per the statement the finance minister made. This is expected to increase a bit because of the impact. Even though the lockdown has been lifted, we are not seeing that activities have returned to pre-pandemic level. People are still cautious in approaching in terms of the day-to-day interaction that we see here and there. Then again, it's going to impact our debt stock. That is obvious. But the good news this year is that because the cedi has been relatively stable, the extent to which the depreciation of the cedi adds to our debt stock will be smaller than last year. Because last year, the depreciation of the cedi alone added approximately 15 billion cedis to our debt stock, because the cedi depreciated against the major trading currencies, largely the dollar. Because if you look at the composition of our public debt stock, the external debt, majority of them are denominated in dollars. Then you can talk about pounds, euros, and the rest of them. So that can be a bit minimal. But then, of course, when it comes to the elevated fiscal deficit, then that can go up a bit. And then the financing arrangement from Bank of Ghana. Then remember, government made an important out-of-budget statement about the 94 hospitals. Okay. Right. Yes, and therefore it is expected that a little bit more information will be given on this. But my suggestion, my humble suggestion to government is that we need to strike a delicate balance between the elevated pressures, health spending pressures, as against other critical sectors of the economy like agriculture, because we are not only in health crisis. Okay, and if you look at the April and May inflation, driven largely by food inflation and a reflection of the global disruption to the global supply chain, because import has gone down, and then the restrictions in terms of the local economy, travel network to move food from the farmlands to where our mouth is, we've seen inflation heading up. So it will be important for government to strike a good balance between agriculture spending along the entire value chain, because we have decided, we moved away from just containing the pandemic. Our strategy now is that we have decided to live with the virus. Then in that case, like the president said, boosting our immune system is the way to go. And boosting the immune system does not depend solely on health spending. And therefore, a balanced budgetary allocation to both health and agriculture, because if you are talking about people eating well, contombre, and the things that the president talked about, this is certainly not health. This is agriculture. So we need to do it in such a way that we are able to prevent deaths that will come as a result of hunger and malnutrition rather than the virus. Because if we are not careful, we are likely to run into a situation where hunger perhaps will kill more people than the virus itself.
Well said, Professor Godfrey Bokmin is an economist. I am particularly waiting to see or to hear from the finance minister how much we saved on those travels and conferences. I'm grateful for your time this evening. Moving on to other stories, the Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA, says the new integrated customs management system deployed at the country's port has so far generated 490 million cedi revenue. This is contrary to claims that the country has lost revenue due to challenges with the new system. Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Reverend Amishada Owusu-Amoah, made the revelation at a press conference in Accra. That's more in the following report.
The transition from the old single-window port clearance to the integrated customs management system at the ports has been met with some challenges. Chief amongst them is the inability of freight forwarders and clearing agents to access importer tax identification numbers, resulting in delays. Responding to the criticism that the system is causing revenue loss at the ports, Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Amishada Owusu, revealed that the system has contributed to an increase in revenue in the first 2 weeks of full implementation.
As at end of May, the total revenue for customs, if you include the levies on the petroleum sector, comes to 4716. That's 4,700,000,000. Without the petroleum is 4003. Petroleum is 713. So if I add the 713 to the 4003, it gives you 4716 as the total revenue. If we are at 490, if you double 490, you are talking about you are crossing. You don't reach a billion, but you are crossing 900, and so that's why I'm confident that things will continue to improve.
Commissioner of Customs, Colonel Kojo Damwa retired, disclosed that the introduction of the new system is to help improve business operations at the country's ports.
Engagements to try to see if they could work together or one of them would lead. But you may be aware that between the two service providers, they haven't had very healthy relationships. Some cases, they look at themselves as rivals. In other cases, competitors. In other cases, people complementing the efforts of one another. So that is how come it took some time. There was even an initial engagement to try to see if Kupia, Ghana Link could work with them so that they can come up with. But all those engagements didn't materialize. So the government, being the sole user of these facilities, conscious of where they wanted to get to and the services that they want to provide, so that all service providers, all stakeholders will have satisfaction, real value for money, and therefore do businesses at minimum cost. Then they thought about this one, which had the potential, based on initial visits to Korea, demonstration, presentations, the potential was there. So when the existing service providers did not give the indication that they would be able to do what the government wanted, the option was to go in for this one.
He added the Customs Division of the GRA will continue to engage stakeholders on the use of the system.
In other news tonight, the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, GEPA, has enrolled 20 young adults in a youth in agriculture program aimed at achieving the $25 billion target in the export of some 6 cash crops under the National Export Development Strategy by 2029. Speaking at the launch, CEO of GEPA, Dr. Aboagye-Wiafe, explained participants will understudy selected nuclear farmers for 6 months, after which they can begin commercial farming.
The orientation exercise is a strategic move by the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, GEPA, to shore up export margins in 9 years. Chief Executive Officer of GEPA, Dr. Aboagye-Wiafe, explained participants will be provided land banks and needed support once they complete the under-training program.
The Youth in Export program is being implemented by Ghana Export Promotion Authority in collaboration with the Youth Employment Agency and seeks to attract Ghanaian youth into exports. Today, we are launching the first in the series, which is Youth in Farming and Export of Agricultural Products. We believe this is a timely intervention as the agriculture sector provides the youth with great employment opportunities and a sustainable livelihood while offering them the platform to contribute to the supply base of Ghana's agricultural produce to increase export earnings and ultimately enhance economic growth.
Oil business engaged some participants who find the initiative as a lasting solution to their being unemployed.
I've been in the house for the past 4 years in search of jobs from one area to the other. But here comes the opportunity from Youth in Expo program. And I think once I've been enrolled on this program, I'm going to learn a lot about pineapple through our orientation and internship with our nuclear farmers.
I'm Abigail Ansa, and for me, I proposed the pineapple project because I made a trip with my brother one day to somewhere in Sawam. Yeah, he lives there. We went there and he showed me someone's farm, pineapple farm. I was just so amazed. And even though I have the passion of going into farming, I think that scene just drove up a certain passion in me, and I told myself I want to really do this. We've been there several times on a number of occasions trying to get the land and all that, but we saw this advert and I just applied, and I'm glad that I've gone through, because for me it's a big one for me.
It's a good thing. That's how come my mom was able to finance education and all that. So I believe it's about time the youth we take farming as a business. So I just had the opportunity, and then I'm glad to KIPA and then YE for helping me go through this. I am hopeful and I'm looking forward to learning more from our nuclear farmers.
A total of 20 out of 67 applicants were selected for the orientation program. This kickstarts an aggressive step by GEPA to meet the $25 billion export strategy under the National Export Development Strategy.
You're still watching Business Live with me, Sandra Sinamakin, and I'm anchoring from home. Let's head to Ghana's eastern border town of Aplau, where residents say they are feeling the impact of the border closure. My colleague Fred Duho has been interacting with some traders who have expressed disappointment at the president's silence in his last State of the Nation address.
Closure of the border, you see, caused a lot of problems. We were hoping that the president will make a statement concerning opening of the border, but nothing of that sort. So everybody is not happy.
Yeah, we were very disappointed because we are expecting him to open the border for we, the Ketu South, we those who are the Ketu South here.
What we are facing right now, one city can never solve our problems.
So how much can solve your problems?
Yeah, bilateral trade is what we need, and somebody from Togo, somebody from Ghana, then we can make our life more complete. Things are not going well because they have closed down all the companies. Now the companies are not paying tax again.
Now they lock the border, there's no job for us. So we are pleading the government to open the border. The way it gives the chance to the students, people, they are going to school. They are going to, I think they open the lockdown in Accra, in Kumasi also. They have to open the border for us so that we all will get free. This is the 5,000 CFA. You have to bring about 49 Ghana cedis and have the 5,000 CFA.
How much will be your commission in that?
Our commission is just about only 1 cedis in this one. About 10,000 CFA, we have 2 cedis on it. We are not getting anything.
I have this. Okay?
Yeah.
I'm bringing it for Ghana cedis.
For Ghana cedis, you get 97 cedis. You understand me? You get 97 cedis.
Border closure, is it not affecting this business?
It's affecting it. We are not getting nothing. It's affecting it seriously.
Right now we are more than lockdown.
And that's how we wrap up for the program this evening. You can log on to myjoyonline.com/business for more business news updates. I am back at 7 p.m. on the Primetime News with more business news updates. My name is Sandra Estinam. I've been doing this from home. Thanks for watching.